Microsoft just announced a new capability that will revolutionize how we build formulas in Excel. The LAMBDA function or functionality allows you to define your own custom functions without writing codes using Excel functions you already know. Moreover, one function can call another, so there is no limit to the power you can deploy with a single function call. You create the function once and reuse it as needed, like the built-in functions. I am Nabil Murad. In this tutorial, I show you a real-world situation that requires creating a complex function to understand the need of using Lambda. Then I explain the concept of Lambda. I create it, I name it, I call it from the worksheet, and keep reusing it. We have a lot to learn, so let's dive in. Here is my start file. You can download the exercise file and follow along by clicking on the link below this video. In a previous tutorial, I showed you a dump data set of thousands of records where we have the last name in column A and first name in the next row in column A, an amount in column C, and the region on a third row but in column B. You can watch this tutorial by clicking on the link below this video. I also mentioned that I can fix the same problem by using formulas and functions. But with the announcement of the Lambda function, I found it an excellent real-world example to demonstrate the use of the Lambda function. I start by explaining the concept of the solution, breaking down the steps into digestible parts. And then I solve it by building my complex function in 4 steps, then in one single step. And then I create my Lambda function and name it to replace the bunch of complex functions. Then I call and reuse my Lambda function to solve the same issue in a very simple way. So let's get started. To understand the problem, I added alternating yellow and green fill color to the source data. Each record consists of 3 rows. The last name is in column A in the top row. The first name is in column A in the second row. The amount is in column C in the second row, like the first name, while the region is in the third row, but in column B. And I have the same pattern for the other records. So if you look at the numbers in column D, in order to extract the records, I can use an index function. The index function will require a row number. So to extract the first name of the first record, I need row number 2. Then the first name of the second record will be in row number 5, then 8, then 11. Look at the red color of the numbers. I created this color association to simplify the concept. And if I want to extract the last name, I'll be using an index function, but this time I want to extract the last name from row number 1, then row number 4, then row number 7, and I follow the same pattern. So to prepare for my index function, I'm going to create this pattern. So in column F, in order to extract the first name, I'll be typing 2, then I hit enter, I type 5. I select the 2 cells simultaneously, and then I drag to create the same pattern. I will do the same for the last name. I need the blue color, 1, 4, 7, 10, and so on. So I'll be typing 1, I hit enter, I type 4, I hit Control Enter, select the 2 cells, click and drag to select the same pattern. Now I want to extract the last name from these rows. I want to extract the region from column B, but in row number 3, I hit enter. The next one will be in row number 6. I hit Control Enter, select the 2 cells, click and drag to create the pattern. And I would have created the row numbers for the region. I repeat for the amount. The amount is on the same row like the first name. Now let's start creating our index function. Equal index, and then I hit tab. The index function requires an array, so I click and drag to select the array I'll be extracting from column A. I hit F4 to lock it, and then I hit comma. The second argument of the index function, what's the row number? This is what I created, the incremental number. It follows a certain pattern, 2, 5, 8, 11. I don't lock this cell, I close the bracket and then I hit enter. Now I can click and drag and I would have extracted the first name. Let's repeat for the last name. I can simply copy the index function, Control C to copy, and then I paste it for the last name, Control V to paste, but I want to modify it, so I hit F2, and instead of the row number 4, I need row number 1. This is the pattern we created, and I would have extracted the last name. I click and drag, and I extracted the last name for 10 records. Let's repeat it for the region. Control V to extract the region, but I'm going to edit my function, of course. I click in the index function, I select the array from the screen tip. I don't want to extract from column A, so I'm going to move it because I want to extract the region is from column B. And instead of F4, I'm going to change the row number and select the pattern that I created for the region in L4. I hit enter and I copy the function down, and I would have extracted the region. Let's do it one last time for the amount. I paste my index function, I put it in the edit mode, and this time I want to select a different array. So I just move the array. Instead of column A, I'm extracting from column C, and when I hit enter, I would have extracted the amount. I click and drag to select it. Now I'm able to extract each piece of information, first name, last name, region, and amount. But the problem is, these numbers are static. These numbers are not dynamic. I created them by typing and dragging down. We need to create these numbers in a dynamic way. I move to the next worksheet, Functions, and here I'll be creating these numbers dynamically by using a combination of functions. I posted a tutorial on my YouTube channel showing you 18 different methods for incrementing numbers dynamically in the middle of a function. And I'm going to use one of these 18 methods. I encourage you to watch this tutorial by clicking on the link below this video. I start creating my incremental numbers by counting the number of records. How many records do I have? In cell F4, I want to count how many records I have, and I'll be using a COUNTA function. So I type equal COUNTA, and then I hit tab. I select column A and I lock it by hitting F4. I close the bracket and then I hit enter. It says 121. In fact, it's also counting the column header in row number 3, so I want to exclude the column header to get a realistic count. I put my function in the edit mode and I type -1. Now it's returning 120. Actually, it's counting the last name and the first name, although both of them belong to the same record. So I want to divide by 2 to get the real number of records. So I put my function in the edit mode F2, and I want to divide by 2 by using the quotient function. The quotient function will divide the result of the count A minus 1. It will divide it by 2, and it will return an integer number. So before the count A function, I type quotient, and I hit tab. The quotient function requires a numerator and a denominator. All this part will be the numerator, so I type comma, and the denominator will be 2. I close the bracket for the quotient function, and then I hit enter. I have 60 records. And now I start creating the pattern for extracting the first name, the last name, and the region. It's the same exact function with a difference in one single argument. So let's put my function in the edit mode one more time, and here comes the benefit of the sequence function. All this function that I created so far, it's the number of records that I have in my source data, and it's the number of rows that I want to create with the sequence function. I put my blinking cursor before the quotient, and I type sequence, and I hit tab. How many rows do you want? This is what I created already, so I type comma. How many columns? I want one single column, so I type 1, and then I hit comma. Now it asks me, what's your start number? This is the only difference between the functions I'll be creating for the first name, the last name, and the region. Here I want to extract 2, 5, 8, 11, and so on. So I want to start at 2, and the next argument, what's the step? I want to increment with a pattern of 3 because each record consists of 3 rows. So I'll be typing 3 and I close the bracket. The moment I hit enter, I would have extracted the row numbers that I need for the index function to work. Now I can create a similar function for the last name. I can create a similar function for the region and change only the starting number for the sequence function. Let me copy the sequence function, Control C to copy, I hit escape, and for the last name I paste it here, I put it in the edit mode, and here is the only argument that will change the starting number of the sequence function. For the last name, I want the pattern 1, 4, 7, 10, and so on, so I want to start at 1. When I hit enter, I would have extracted that pattern. Let's do it for the region. Control V, put the function in the edit mode, and change the starting number for the region. We want to start at 3, and when I hit enter, I would have created the pattern for the region. I do the same for the amount, but for the amount, because I'm extracting from rows 2, 5, 8, 11, then I have the same pattern like the first name, so I paste my function, and this is exactly what I need for the index function to work. Let's extract the first name. So I type equal index, and then I hit tab. I want to extract from column A, so I start selecting all the records in column A from A4 down to A183. I hit F4 to lock the records, and then I hit comma, and then I click on my sequence function, and I close the bracket, and then I hit enter. Now I can copy all the records down, double click and send it down, and I was able to extract all the list of first names. I want to repeat for the last name, so I'll be copying my index function, Control C, paste my index function, Control V, but we want to change the row number. This time we want to get the pattern that we created in column I, and then when I hit enter, I would have extracted the last name. I can double click and send it down. I can repeat for the region and the amount, but I want to do all that in one single step and combine all my functions together. To do it, I'm going to select the function for the first name, and instead of having F4, I want to nest the sequence function inside my index function. So I'll be copying my sequence function. I click and drag to select the sequence function without the equal sign, Control C to copy. I hit escape, and then I put my index function in the edit mode, and instead of hard-coding a cell reference, I'll be pasting my sequence function. When I hit enter, it will give me a spelled array error. The reason is I have some values, I have obstacles in the way of this function. When I hit enter, here is the spelled array error. So if I select all the values below the function, shift control down arrow, and then I hit delete, now the function spells and I get the correct answer. I can even delete the sequence function in column F because I'm creating a standalone index function. What's the difference between the function I used for extracting the first name and the one I used for extracting the last name? It's only the starting number of the sequence function. Let's put them together. So I select my index and sequence function. Control C to copy it. I hit escape, and I want to create my function in one single step. Here I'll be extracting the full name. I can even hide some columns, so I'll be hiding all these columns. Right click and hide. The shortcut is Control 0. And now I'll be extracting the full name, first name, space, and last name. I paste my index function Control V, and it returns the first name. I put my function in the edit mode, and then I type a joining operator Shift 7, and then a space, double quote, space, double quote, another joining operator Shift 7, and I paste the function one more time, but for the second function, I don't want to start at 2 because the last name starts at row number 1, so I type 1. Now if I hit enter, I will be extracting the full name. Here is the full name, first name, and last name. Let's repeat for the region. I will be copying one of the index functions for the region, and I will need to change the array. It will become column B for the region, and the starting number will be 3. And then I hit escape. I paste it in the region column. Of course, it will be extracting the first name, but not a problem. Let's fix it. So I put my function in the edit mode F2. I click in the index function to select the array. I want to change the array by dragging, and I want to extract from the region. And the second change, I want the sequence function to return the pattern that I need for the region 3, 6, 9. Look at the green color. So I'll be starting at 3. When I hit enter, I would have extracted the region. Let's repeat one more time for the amount. So for the amount, I'll be pasting the same index function one more time. All what I need here is to change the array. I put my function in the edit mode, click in the index function, click on the array in the screen tip to select it, and now I can simply drag the array and extract from column C. For the sequence function, and because the amount is at the same row like the first name, then I don't need to make a change here. When I hit enter, I would have extracted the amount, and we fixed the problem with classic functions. How many times did I use the combination of sequence, quotient, and count A function, this long function? I used it 4 times. In a different situation, I could have used this combination of long functions much more time. And here comes the importance of the lambda function. What's the lambda function? It enables me to create user-defined function, custom functions, using the built-in functions in Excel that we already know. So let me create my very first lambda function and use it in solving the same project one more time. So I'm going to copy my sequence function. I can copy any occurrence, Control C, and then I hit escape. What is changing every time I use the sequence function? I have one single variable, which is the starting number of the sequence function. Otherwise, it's the same exact function. So I'm going to create the lambda function by typing equal lambda, and then I hit tab. And look at the screen tip, it says a parameter or calculation. I'm going to name the variable, which will be the starting number of the sequence function, which will be the only argument that will change every time I use the sequence function. So I'm going to name it anything like x, and then I hit comma. What's my parameter or calculation in which I use this x? It will be all the combination of sequence, quotient, and count A. So I paste it. When I paste it, in order to use it in different situations, if I have a variable x, and I'll be changing only this variable every time I use my lambda function, then where do you want to put this variable? I want to put it at the position of the start argument of the sequence function, which is this one, so I'll be typing x. And I finish creating my lambda function. Every time I want to use it, it will be a lot more simple for me. Let's test it. When I hit enter, I'll get an error. It's a calculation error. The reason is the lambda function is unable to process the combination of sequence, quotient, and count A, and the reason for that, I didn't provide the variable. I have to assign a value to the variable. This concept is easier to understand for those who are creating custom functions in VBA. So I'm going to put my function one more time in the edit mode. I hit F2. And then I open bracket and I assign the value. Let's say I want this x to be 2. So when I close the bracket, look what happens. When I hit enter, I get the pattern of numbers that I want. To be able to reuse the lambda function, I have to give it a name. I can name it within the function itself, but I'm going to name it this time by going to the Formulas tab of the ribbon and creating a defined name. I want to copy it first, so I'm going to put my function in the edit mode F2, and I'll be copying the lambda function from the equal sign up to the end without the last part, the opening bracket 2 and closing bracket, the variable, the assigned value of the parameter. I'm copying it, Control C, and then I delete it from here. I was just demonstrating how I built it. To create my lambda function, I can go to the Formulas tab of the ribbon and click on Define Name. I can open the same dialog box by hitting the shortcut Ctrl Alt F3. And in this dialog box, I want to give a name to my Lambda function because I'll be using it from within the worksheet. So I'm going to name it myRow because I use it for providing the row number for the index function. In the refers to box, I delete whatever I have and I paste my Lambda function, Ctrl V. I can add a comment or a description, and then I hit OK, and I'm ready to use my function. I created a function that will appear in the IntelliSense list of Excel. Let's see how I use it now. After defining its name, I type an equal sign, and the name of the function is myRow. So if I type my, and here is the function, I hit tab to select it. It doesn't add the opening bracket automatically, so I'm going to type an opening bracket, and I just give a value to the x parameter that I created, which is the starting number of the sequence function. If I type 2 and close the bracket, look at the magic. I was able to extract the entire list of numbers following the pattern that I specified in the sequence, quotient, and count A function. Now let's delete this function from here, and let's solve the project by using the Lambda function, myRow, that we just created. I go to the next worksheet, and here I want to create my index function. Equal index, and then I hit tab. What's your array? My array is in column A starting from A4 down to A183. I hit F4, and then I hit comma. What's the row number? I want to extract the first name. The first name starts at 2, so I'll be typing my Lambda function. I named it myRow. So if I type my, I hit the tab key to select row, and then I close the bracket. I type 2, that's the starting number for the sequence function. I close the bracket for the Lambda function, and I close the bracket for the index function. Now if I hit enter, look at that. That's simply beautiful. Let's continue building our project. So I'm going to copy this entire function without the equal sign. Control C. I hit escape. And let's put the function in the edit mode, F2. And I want to join to a space, Shift 7, the joining operator of Excel, double quote, space, double quote. I type a second joining operator and I paste the same function. What's the difference? Both of them are from column A. The only difference is one single number. Instead of 2, I need 1. When I hit enter, I would have extracted the full name. So let's change the label and make it full name. Now let's extract the region. I'll be using the same function one more time. So I type an equal sign. I paste my index function. But here I put my blinking cursor. I want to change the array. Instead of extracting from column A, I want to extract the region from column B. And instead of starting, look at the red color, at 2, I want to start at 3. So I change the parameter for my Lambda function. I type a 3, and when I hit enter, I would have extracted the region. Let's do it one last time for the amount. So I type an equal sign. I hit Control V. And the difference here is in the array for the index function. I click on array in the screen tip, and I want to change the array and move it to column C. I also want to start at 2 because both of them are in the second row for each record. And the moment I hit enter, I would have finished my project. If you enjoyed this training video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel to be notified when new tutorials are released. The best is yet to come. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.